What will you do when your money works for you? Welcome to the TechGirl Financial Podcast with your hosts, Victor and Kim Gaxiola. From the home office in California, here is Victor and Kim.
So welcome back to the TechGirl Financial Podcast. We're so excited to be back. Now, I should note, we are still enjoying a summer hiatus and we'll be back with regularly scheduled programs coming this fall. But there was a topic that kept coming up and we thought it was important enough for us to address. So we're creating a special 3-episode bonus podcast series that's focusing on changing jobs in today's post-pandemic environment. And a lot of this, as far as the catalyst, was Kim's conversations with a number of different people of things to think about because the job market is completely changed as a result of the pandemic. And so we thought it was important enough for us to address it.
That's right. And the job market is completely changed since the pandemic, but also is changing since the early part of post-pandemic days. Mm-hmm. And that's because of the big R word that everyone's throwing around, which has to do with a recession up and coming. And so we thought we'd put together a top 10 checklist of the things you should be watching for and comparing and contrasting before you say yes, because that will give you the grounds to negotiate. So should we start off?
Let's get going. Let's go through all 10, and then we can have a little discussion afterwards, and then prepare people for what's to come next.
Right. So the first 4 on the checklist are broken down into the financial foundation components for your checklist. Those are 1, review the health and family benefits. 2, what does your company look like in terms of financial health of your company? Check the earnings if they're public. Check the funding if they're private. 3, what does turnover look like in your company? As I said, we are heading into a recession, and that's something you should know. And 4 is what kind of insurance, both life and disability, do you currently have, and what will you have in the future?
Now, some of these items that Kim just described are available, publicly available information that you can look up when you talk about earnings, you talk about benefits and such. And most of it might be listed in the website before you get deeper into the conversations, right? May not necessarily be part of the package that they're offering until you actually become a candidate that they want to hire. However, there are other resources. I know Glassdoor is a great resource if you wanted to look up to find out a little bit more about the family benefits and the specifics of what it means to work in this environment. Is it a healthy environment? Is it the kind of place that you're going to be able to thrive in? So some of this is publicly available. Others you'll probably have to dig a little bit deeper.
Right. And, some information is free on sites like Glassdoor, but the really good information sometimes has to be paid for. And if it's a matter of $25, $50 when you're comparing thousands of dollars in benefits, it's worth it.
Yeah. So the bottom line, you're looking to get the most of the value that you can add to the organization, but at the same time, you are doing a comparison. Mm-hmm. Making a job change isn't an easy decision. And in some cases, if you've been very comfortable where you're at, the grass always seems to be a little bit greener. So you want to make sure that you're doing a good side-by-side comparison.
Right. These first 4 items, I think people glaze over, don't really care about, but we set them first because they're foundational, super important. So now let's move on to the wealth building items on the list, which are the last 6 items. So number 5 on the list would be HSA accounts. Do you have any? And that also would be the FSA area as well. Do you have any? And did you have any in the past? 401k accounts, that's a retirement benefit. Deferred compensation, if you're higher up on the executive ladder, you may have some deferred compensation there. ESPP or employee stock purchase plans. My favorite, RSUs, restricted stock units. And another item on this list is ISOs and and QSOs or IPOs. Wow, that's a lot of.
That's a lot of letters.
That's
it's an alphabet soup.
Yeah.
So if they come at you with alphabet soup, you're probably in a good place.
I know. Scratch off number 10 and just say the ABCs of stock options.
Right. Correct.
So what we're talking about is incentive stock options, IPO options if your company is still private, and non-qualified stock options.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of competition, especially in the tech space, for talent. And often it is exactly these wealth building offers or wealth building benefits that make the difference between working for one company or the other. Especially, going back to the first foundational piece and looking at the strength of the company, you can expect that most who may be in a startup stage or early stage development, perhaps are still getting rounds of seed of venture capital money. They may not be in a position to offer the highest salaries, but in exchange for that, they'll give you an opportunity to get equity in the company, and hopefully there will be some growth. So those are things to evaluate, because a lot of it goes back. Could you be comfortable getting less of a salary if it means that you're going to get more benefits or more stock options? How much faith do you have in this company actually being able to get to a place where those stock options are going to be worth something so that it can make up for the loss of salary in the short term?
And these are really hard questions to answer, not ones that we would expect everyone to have the answers to all of those different items. And so this is where I would encourage you to be talking to your financial planner or financial advisor out there, because there are a lot of different factors that we're going to introduce in this podcast series that will make you think differently. It's not just the numbers, is one salary bigger than the other, but if that bigger salary is out there and it's a company that's not doing well, what happens if that company goes bust in a recession versus something more stable? And so those are the things that analytically a financial planner is going to bring to the table.
Right. And when we mentioned, using a service like Glassdoor, where, people are providing anonymous feedback of what it means to work at that organization, what is the environment like? I think that's very important, but the best resource would be somebody that might already work there, especially if it's a trusted friend or contact. And that's where LinkedIn can really help. If you go to LinkedIn, I have found that you can see where people work. You might have a connection. Reach out to that person and find out if you can learn a little bit more about the company and what it means to work there.
So it is important, and it is worth your money to look and analyze this top 10 checklist and compare what you have currently versus where you're going and what your needs are for your future. And that really wraps it up, because once you have all of that information, what do you do next?
You negotiate. Yeah, all of these items are typically open for negotiation. I know people can feel really nervous, especially if an offer is being made and they love the job, to accept the first offer. But I got to tell you, don't. If they want you enough to make an offer, they will be more than willing to negotiate. And sometimes that negotiation doesn't have to be for more salary. It could be for more days off. It could be for, more benefits as it relates to, let's say, options. So really take a look at what's being offered, and before you say yes, find out if there's a possibility for you to get more.
That's right. I always remember Victor said they never expect you to take the first offer. And as uncomfortable as it was for me being a woman, and I think I can speak for a lot of women out there, it is really uncomfortable. You just want to take the job because you're so happy they want you. But in the end, you will do better. And this is one of the reasons why women sometimes don't earn as much as men, because women don't ask for more and women don't negotiate at the high levels that men do. Mm-hmm. And so this is probably the very most important thing for you to take away from this, because the checklist you can get online is to have the confidence to ask for a little more.
Mm-hmm. So that's great. So those are the top 10 or the 10 things to consider before you say yes to a new job opportunity or transition. In the next two podcasts, we're going to build a little bit more on the foundational side of it, things, and also on the wealth building side of things. So we hope you'll join us on the TechGirl Financial podcast. Stay tuned for the next 2 bonus episodes that are all looking at how you go about and best approaches when it comes to changing jobs in today's post-pandemic environment.
Hope to see you there.
Hope to see you soon. Bye.
If you have questions, comments, or suggestions for future shows, please send an email to victor@techgirlfinancial.com or join the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag AskTGF. We also encourage you to follow us on the TechGirl Financial page on Facebook and connect with us on LinkedIn.
Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, a registered investment advisor. TechGirl Financial and Cambridge Investment Research, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Discussions in the show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions.